final part of our Iraq trilogy, this week we take a look at how the sportsmen and women of this conflict-ravaged country have been affected by the maelstrom of violence there. Baghdad is a city with a turbulent past. Evidence of previous bloodshed and bravery can still be found here, while scars from the current fighting are etched across most of its buildings. A spate of kidnappings and killings in 2006 and 2007 saw over 100 leading sports figures, from the heads of the tennis and wrestling federations to footballers and basketball players, murdered by Sunni and Shia terrorist groups. Al-Khark is one of the city's oldest football clubs. The chairman is Sharaf Haidar. A former Iraqi football international, Haidar was systematically tortured under Iraq's then sports czar Uday Hussein, Saddam's son.
We were expected to win and to reach a certain standard. If we won but failed to achieve that standard, or if we lost, we would be punished. Punishment would vary in terms of severity. It could be shaving one's head, or imprisonment with corporal punishment. There was also torture, something that most Iraqi players and athletes experienced.
In 1994, Haidar was kept in a prison cell for a month, fed only bread and water, and had the soles of his feet beaten 20 times a day because he refused to play for the national team. FIFA, football's governing body, launched an investigation into the allegations, but found no evidence of torture. Even after the psychopathic Uday's death, the threat of violence was never far away.
I was personally the victim of several assassination attempts and threats on my life. My family car was torched here at the club, and I wasn't the only one. The head of the National Olympic Committee and his colleagues were kidnapped in central Baghdad in broad daylight. It was a crime against sport, humanity and Iraqi society, and we're still calling on the authorities to shed some light on the fate of the people who were kidnapped. Sadly, up until now, nobody has provided us with any answers.
Mahmoud Abbas is a former Tae-Kwon-Do expert. He was forced to retire after an injury that took 4 years to heal and is now Iraq's top Tae-Kwon-Do coach. He has tragic links to one of the most notorious incidents of violence involving sport in Iraq. In 2006, 13 members of the national Taekwondo team were kidnapped near Fallujah on their way to an international competition in Jordan. A year later, their bodies were found in the western Iraqi desert.
They were cadets, juniors and seniors. 4 of them were boys from my club. I trained them and looked after them. The car hire company contacted their offices in Amman and asked whether the 2 minibuses had arrived. They said no. Then the border police told us they had no records of any athletes entering or leaving the country. Because those who were killed were just kids, we had every reason to be afraid, as we were well-known figures.
Paralympic athletes have also been kidnapped and murdered. However, Paralympic sports in Iraq are now benefiting from strong administration, increased funding and good links with the international community.
After I finished my military service, where I suffered this injury, I was hit by a mortar bomb and had to have my legs amputated. I made some inquiries and was told that volleyball could be played by disabled athletes. So since I'd played the sport in the past, I joined a team.
After my leg was amputated, I thought, so what? I'm not going to sit here and rot. I'll play sport. The main thing for me is that I continue to represent Iraq.
Basketball is the second most popular sport in Iraq after football, and Baghdad has a strong tradition in it. Al-Khark is the city's leading club, challenging for top spot in the country's 16-team Premier League. There are rumours that some American players could be coming to Baghdad, although with the average NBA salary capable of paying the entire Iraqi Premier League wage bill 5 times over, That seems unlikely just yet. But the sport has had its dark days too.
During the era of the Saddam regime, the basketball team was banned from taking part in international tournaments for 10 years. This obviously led to a deterioration in the standard of Iraqi basketball.
Not being able to travel was a minor inconvenience compared to what has happened in the years since Saddam was removed from power. A basketball player was recently kidnapped and held until his teammates clubbed together to pay the $10,000 ransom. And a couple of years ago, a team on its way to play a match was caught up in a shootout between police and insurgents. Iraq may have many more pressing concerns than sport, as it struggles to shake off the legacy of Saddam Hussein and put to rest a bloody insurgency that's still killing hundreds every month. But in a society so often polarised by sectarianism and religious divides, sport, perhaps more than anything else, can present solutions and hope.
In Iraq, sport is a great asset and an important tool. It's played a major role in uniting the people here. When the national team won the Asian Cup in 2007, the whole country, with all its factions, all its sects and religions, from the north and from the south, came out to support the Iraqi football team.
With international companies from countries like Italy and the UK providing financial aid specifically for sport development in Iraq, added to success stories like that of the country's football team, maybe there is light at the end of the tunnel in this troubled land.